The story opens on an open-top tour bus in New York City, where the tour guide is telling everyone that even though this street looks totally ordinary now, this whole area was completely destroyed during the Battle of New York. While people are still listening to her, a massive armored tank suddenly comes barreling down the street, crushing everything in its path. Police cars and fire trucks come chasing right behind it. Before anyone can stop it, Spider-Man drops out of the sky and lands right on top of the tank. He yells at people to get out of the way and tries to stop the tank with his webs, but it's moving way too fast for any of his moves to work. Right then, Spider-Man leaps onto a van, speeding along up ahead. But a second later, he realizes the van is being driven by none other than Frank Castle, the Punisher, who's chasing the tank his own way. Spider-Man's shocked to see him and jokingly asks why he's driving a van. But Frank's absolutely furious and immediately tells him to get off his windshield. Spider-Man tries to talk him down, saying they shouldn't start fighting again, but Frank's in no mood for arguing this time. He pulls out his gun and flatly tells Spider-Man to get out of his way. Spider-Man reminds him that he's saved his life before, but Frank doesn't want to hear it. He tells Frank that shooting isn't the answer to every problem, since innocent people could get killed. Frank just points at the tank and asks who exactly is in front of him right now. Without waiting another second, he blasts the tank with a grenade launcher. Spider-Man ends up back on top of the tank and gets annoyed watching what Frank just did. After the explosion, the tank stalls for a moment and starts smoking. Frank climbs out of his van, coughing hard. Spider-Man doesn't stick around. He swings off, laughing and calling out, "No hard feelings." Frank just mutters angrily that he's going to take this kid down one day. He has no idea the real trouble is still coming. The tank suddenly changes course, smashes through a wall, and barrels into an alley. Right then, Spider-Man gets a call from Detective DeWolf. She's panicking, asking why he can't stop the tank. It's headed straight for the Damage Control Detention Center, where a bunch of extremely dangerous criminals are being held. Spider-Man assures her he's doing everything he can. She tells him to move faster. He points out that he's the one who caught and locked up all those criminals in the first place. But things are about to get a lot worse. Meanwhile, inside the damage control facility, guards are getting ready to move Mac Gargan, the Scorpion, out of his cell. They order him to start walking. Before they get far, the out-of-control tank smashes straight through the building wall. Spider-Man follows it in and manages to pry the hatch open. He tells everyone to clear out immediately, figuring whoever's inside must be extremely dangerous. But when he looks in, he's stunned. There's no terrorist in there, just an old woman sitting calmly. Spider-Man, baffled, tells her to get out of the vehicle. She just smiles and says she was thinking the same thing. Then the mood flips completely. The SWAT team and damage control agents on scene suddenly aim every gun they've got at Spider-Man. In that moment, the old woman leans in and quietly whispers that they're underground. Before Spider-Man can even process what she means, the SWAT commander orders her taken into custody for questioning and the whole building evacuated. Meanwhile, up on the rooftop helipad, Scorpion is being loaded into a helicopter. A guard mocks him, saying he's going to spend the rest of his life in a supermax prison. Scorpion just smirks and says, "Scorpions always come out at night." Suddenly, an emergency alert comes through. The whole building's under attack, and the prisoner needs to be evacuated immediately. They have no idea the real danger is about to show up right in front of them. Around the same time, Spider-Man reaches the rooftop too. He spots a SWAT officer acting strangely, who suddenly begs him for help, saying he needs to be saved. Spider-Man quickly webs him to the wall and demands to know who he is. But the officer turns the question right back on him, asking who Spider-Man even is. They go back and forth trying to figure each other out. But Spider-Man has no clue that the person standing in front of him isn't some ordinary SWAT officer. He's the start of a mystery that's about to change the entire story. Peter Parker is lying on the ground in a deserted alley, stripped down to just his underwear. After a while, he comes to and starts breathing heavily. The next moment, he notices his hands and wrists, where organic webs had started shooting out on their own a little earlier. He examines them closely and slowly realizes something huge is happening inside his body. But right now, he doesn't even have time to think about it. So he immediately climbs through a building window and ends up dropping straight into a basement laundry room where a guy is casually doing his laundry. The guy is completely startled seeing Peter show up like this. Peter, flustered, just says he lives here and came to grab his stuff. He quickly grabs his things and takes off without stopping. A little while later, Peter shows up in the elevator, wearing a black tank top and shorts. A girl with her dog and a guy are already standing inside. The moment the girl notices Peter's clothes, she suspiciously asks if he's wearing her shirt. Peter smiles and changes the subject, complimenting her dog instead. But the dog immediately starts barking at him nonstop. Luckily, the elevator stops right then, and Peter steps out without wasting a second. He then reaches the small lab set up in his apartment, but he's stunned by what he sees inside. Organic webbing is spread across every wall and machine in the room. He pushes through it as he steps in. His AI assistant, Edith, tells him he's got 107 new alerts piled up and needs to check his backlog immediately. But Peter's focused on something else entirely. He pulls up his body scan report on the computer and asks, confused, what exactly is happening to him? Edith analyzes the report and tells him his arachnid DNA-related hormones have suddenly spiked, causing organic web spinnerets to form in his body, and his senses have become several times more sensitive than before. Peter says he feels totally fine. Edith adds that prolonged isolation or deep emotional trauma could also be triggering this change, then asks if he's recently gone through any major psychological shock. Peter goes quiet for a moment. Edith calls out to him again. He pulls himself together and says he's completely fine. Edith isn't convinced and suggests he take some time to steady and center himself. Peter just says he doesn't have that option right now. Peter then puts on his old mechanical web shooters and tries using them alongside the new organic webs. Edith warns him that mechanical shooters and organic webs can't function together. The moment he activates the mechanical shooter, a massive burst of organic web fires from his wrist and completely shatters a wooden cabinet in front of him. Peter stares at his own hands in disbelief. A little later, he puts on the Spider-Man suit and heads up to the rooftop. But as he moves forward, a sudden, brutal headache hits him. Edith immediately alerts him that his senses are completely overloaded. The pain is so intense that Peter doubles over, clutching his head. Edith keeps warning him that too much information is flooding his brain at once. Struggling to steady himself, Peter tells himself the organic webs aren't anything new. The other Peter had the same ability and managed it fine. He tries shooting his new web, but the first attempt fails badly, and the web backfires, slamming him into the wall. Stunned, he tries again, but has no luck this time either. Just then, Edith alerts him to a new emergency. A shootout has broken out at the damage control data center in Manhattan, and the suspect's face matches Mac Gargan, the Scorpion. Without hesitation, Peter decides to head there. But as he tries to swing using his webs, he completely loses his balance, crashes straight into a water tank, and it bursts open. He's left flailing wildly in midair. After a serious struggle, he somehow manages to steady himself. He has no idea that an even bigger problem is waiting for him up ahead. Meanwhile, at night outside the damage control data center in Manhattan, Scorpion is wreaking absolute havoc. He's got a security guard pinned down and keeps demanding information about VMAX. The guard keeps insisting he knows nothing about it. Spider-Man arrives and jokes that he's running a little late. Before he can finish, Scorpion attacks him head-on, and a fierce fight breaks out between them. Mid-fight, that same sharp headache suddenly hits Peter again. Clutching his head, he asks Scorpion if they really have to do this every time since his head feels like it's splitting. Scorpion smirks and asks if he really thinks he's fighting the Scorpion. Spider-Man is thrown off by this. He asks, confused, what exactly is happening with him? Scorpion attacks again, saying Spider-Man can't even sense him the way he used to. He then knocks him down hard with his tail. Edith warns that his arachnid hormones keep climbing, and the next moment, something inside Spider-Man that's never surfaced before suddenly awakens. His whole demeanor shifts instantly. He blocks every one of Scorpion's attacks and turns brutally aggressive. Within seconds, he grabs Scorpion and slams him through a parked car's window, shattering the glass completely. Standing over him furiously, he demands to know who he really is. Scorpion, lying there, just smirks back and asks if Spider-Man even knows who he is. Police sirens start wailing in the distance. Spider-Man quickly webs him up.